I would include the three of us talking right now, have been railing against identity politics for years, while on places like CNN and in our administration and the Democrat Party have been pushing this on everybody. So welcome to the party, pal.
Well, and the reason...
What a controversial statement. Stop the genocide in Gaza. It's a good thing you put this on screen so everyone can see this for what it truly is. What? End apartheid? How dare they? How dare they say such things? All right. I want to hear about Suppression Olympics.
Let's bring in Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth. He is a graduate of Harvard, and Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report. Good to have both of you with us. Pete, several years ago, you returned your Harvard degree, and you did it live on Fox on your show on the weekend. When you listen to Fareed Zakaria here, do you think that we might be at a tipping point in this whole story?
I hope so. It took students calling for the genocide of their classmates and then presidents not being willing to condemn it to open some people's eyes to, I mean, I like what Fareed Zakaria said. The point is, it didn't start with the best of intentions. Marxists landed at these universities decades ago with a new theory. If you look at what I wrote on that Harvard diploma, I crossed out Harvard and I wrote Critical Theory University. And it was a Marxist theory meant to divide the world.
Clever. Did you come up with that on your own? Was that your handiwork? Did you stay up all night writing that one?
World into either class or gender or race, ways that could deconstruct Western civilization, Western education, Judeo-Christian values into whatever oppressor-oppressed matrix they prefer in that particular moment. You know, it's hate speech to fat shame one at Harvard. It's hate speech to use the wrong gender pronoun. But it depends on context. If you're talking about the genocide of an entire group, it's because they've lost.
So what he's referring to, I believe, were the chants of "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," being used in this instance by students in order to oppose apartheid. I mean, I don't think they even like the sentence "Palestine will be free." They certainly don't like the watermelon stickers. Oh yes, those are horrifying. But again, this is all coming out during a time when there are horrifying Nazis, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, fucking neo-reactionaries who do hate Jewish people, who are doing violence against Jewish people and hate them simply because they are Jewish. They are anti-Semitic, racist assholes. There's tons and tons of cases, and young people getting radicalized, by the way, in large part, I'm sure, due to a healthy dose of all these fucking bigots, but getting radicalized to such a point where they are actually willing to commit acts of violence. There are synagogues that are being attacked. There are people who bring guns into Jewish institutions, firebombing Jewish institutions in Canada as well. I mean, this is not a uniquely American problem. There's a lot of racist ass anti-Semites out there. A lot of them are white supremacists as well, neo-Nazis, and like none of their shit is a secret, you know, like the Nick Fuentes of the worlds, the Groypers of the worlds. They're saying a lot of this shit out loud. He always has been. He's always been very, very fucking adamant about how much he hates Jewish people, and he spreads conspiracies about Jewish people controlling all of the media and all this kind of shit. Yeah, those are racists. Those are Nazis. Those are anti-Semites. Those are fucking bigots for sure. Students being like, I don't like to see, again, a sovereign nation, an independent nation, committing acts of genocide against another sovereign nation, independent nation, especially one that is controlling all of their food, their water, their fuel, their, like, whether or not people are going to starve, which they are now going through, is completely dependent on Israel. I mean, people stating that, opposing that, these are two wildly different things. Fox News wouldn't have you know that, though. Fox News wants you to think, well, these students were calling for the genocide of all of their Jewish peers. That's what happened. That's the story.
Any semblance of a moral framework other than the politicization of their students. And here's the accountability, Martha. Liz McGill's going to keep her job at the law school at the University of Penn. The faculty are rallying behind Claudia Gay. The students are rallying behind her, even despite that testimony. So
well, they have the right,
they have the right to do that.
No. If they want to rally behind her, they can. I think one of the reasons.
Oh, that's the freedom of speech you're willing to give them. That's the limits now, because man, they've gone so censorious. The far right especially. It's been like book banning after book banning. Well, we're just banning the porno books and African American studies. Wait, what was the second one? And African American studies. Why? Teaches CRT. It does. What? critical race theory? What, you talking about an advanced law degree? No, we're not talking about critical race theory at all right now, actually. And it's like, well, yes, but critical race theory, and it made the babies racist, and then I saw the racist baby, and then the racist baby pointed and laughed at me, and so critical race theory bad, and so we need to stop those books from being taught as well.
That, you know, part of their statement is that they don't want Elise Stefanik to win. They don't want it to look like she pushed their president out. You know, obviously there's a lot of egg on their faces at this point. And I wonder if Saturday Night Live is another tipping point moment here, because it appears that with this skit on Saturday night, while simultaneously McGill was resigning, they may have jumped the shark. Watch this, Dave.
Oh, my God.
Anti-Semitism, yay or nay?
I'm sorry, what?
Yes or no is calling for the genocide of Jews against the code of conduct for Harvard.
Well, it depends on the context.
What? That can't be your answer, you pen lady. Same question, yes or no?
Well, we are serious about stopping all forms of hatred, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia.
And then the second one, and my tea lady, chance to steal. And keep in mind, if you don't say yes, you're going to make me look good, which is really, really hard to do.
Dave, your thoughts?
I mean, wokeism on top.
And now we go to political savant, commentator, Dave Rubin. Dave, what do you have to say about the SNL sketch you just watched? Well, wokeism woked in the wokest of wokeries when it wokeified the wokey woke. Yeah.
Of all the things that it has destroyed, meaning our cultural and educational institutions and everything else, it's also the death of comedy. That was the reverse of comedy because
nobody better, no bigger expert probably in human history to talk about the death of comedy than Dave Rubin. Failed stand-up comedian Dave Rubin. I won't put you through that cringe. I don't hate you all. It's the holidays after all. We got to celebrate, right? I don't know what holiday you might be celebrating. Everything from Festivus, Hanukkah is over, but I believe Kwanzaa and the birth of Christ are still on the horizon. And then later in the year, Ramadan as well. Many holidays. I don't know what you celebrate, but I'm gonna guess. I'm just gonna put a little bit of a feeler out there that it's not exactly the way he's describing it.
Comedy, good comedy tells you something true.
So it's a bit of a sad story, but for a while it was, let's say, illegal and dangerous for Palestinians to wave or use their own flag out of fear of being shot. The watermelon, as a delicious fruit, also contains all the colors of the Palestinian flag, so it became a symbol of resistance as a result of it, and a way for them to be able to still honor the same colors that are representational in their flag, without fear of potentially being shot in the face, kind of thing.
And makes you laugh at it so that you start thinking about something. Not only was the impression of Elise Stefanik not good, but there is no other group that they would allow the joking of the genocide of that group to be the brunt of the joke. You know, I'm impressed that Pete got...
They're laughing at the, I would assume, upside downery of it all, which is just how clown world a lot of this is, in that if you have students who are like, hey, by the way, I oppose apartheid, Palestine should be free, and then people are like, whoa, so you're calling for the extermination of all the Jews? Oh, I'm not. Those are two completely separate things. One is basically like, you know, neo-Nazi shit, and the other one is me saying that, yes, I oppose apartheid. Do you oppose apartheid? I guess it depends. It's complicated. In this case, it's very complicated.
Rid of his Harvard degree. Next time I come on Fox, I want them to say never went to Harvard. That would be the most honorable thing. That would be the highest thing someone could say.
That would be revisionist
But Pete's
history.
absolutely right. This matrix of oppression, this Suppression Olympics that these people have decided is more valuable than what you say, what you think, and what you do, is the destruction of meritocracy. It's the destruction of everything good that all of our ancestors who came here, whenever they came here, however they got here, lived in much worse conditions than we live in 2023 for all of our problems. And we're erasing that. And it's deeply dangerous because what comes after this is way worse. So I would say with the destruction of Harvard and Penn and these elite universities, that's a good step. The destruction of SNL is a good step. But we need all of these corporations to fall under this. And just one other thing, which is that Fareed Zakaria should know that
What's this? Americans are dying younger, but where you live makes a big difference. The average U.S. life expectancy has hit its worst decline in 100 years, and America's standing is dismal amongst peer nations. But the average obscures a more complex story. The United States is facing the greatest divide in life expectancy across regions in the last 40 years. Research from American Inequality found that Americans born in certain areas of Mississippi and Florida may die 20 years younger than their peers born in parts of Colorado and California. The decline is not occurring equally throughout the country. In the land of opportunity, millions of people are not even given a fair shot at life. America is unique amongst wealthy countries when it comes to how young people die, and the trend is only getting worse. From 2019 to 2020, U.S. life expectancy declined by almost 2 years according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the worst 2-year decline since 1921 to 1923. When COVID hit, America experienced a larger decline in life expectancy than any other wealthy country. Life expectancy in America is now 76 years. What is driving the difference in who lives and who dies in America? The answer is wealth, demographics, and location. State policies tremendously influence life expectancy. Income support, Medicaid expansion, stronger gun control, drug overdose prevention, and safe abortion access are amongst the drivers of regional divides in life expectancy. By the way, the reason I'm reading from Time magazine is so you can't say that right now this is some kind of like, far leftist pink commie publication. Again, it does not maths. The reality is that like this is a massive problem, one that clearly is correlating with poverty, wealth, income inequality. Overdoses kill more than 100,000 people per year. Guns kill more people than cars do, but digging into communities shed light on the country's biggest issues. Income is a major driver for higher life expectancy. In the wealthiest regions like Aspen, Colorado, and Santa Clara, California, median household incomes reach the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and Americans live to 87 on average, the highest in the country. But in poor regions like Owsley County, Kentucky, or Union County, Florida, the median household income is $35,000, and life expectancy floats around 67 years on average, the lowest in the country. Our research has found a painfully high correlation between household income and life expectancy. Poverty in America is not about income alone. Low-income communities, regardless of the state, are more likely to struggle with access to affordable health care. They are more likely to live near toxic sites and develop lung cancer. They are more likely to live in food deserts and wrestle with illnesses and heart disease and obesity. And they are more likely to die younger from drug overdoses. Adequately addressing inequality in life expectancy requires looking across factors and working to improve challenges for communities. Black communities die younger. Thomas McGuire, professor of health economics at Harvard Medical School, explained, in terms of health, there's approximately a 5-year penalty for being African American compared with being a white male. Black Americans in every state have lower life expectancies than their white peers by 4 years on average. This is largely due to lower quality care that Black communities receive for conditions like cancer, heart problems, pneumonia, pain management, prenatal and maternal health, and overall preventative health. The same thing applies as well to Indigenous communities in Canada and the United States. Pemiscot County, Missouri represents this gap most clearly, as it has some of the lowest Black life expectancies in America. In Pemiscot, Black residents die at 64 years on average, effectively meaning they will work until they die. They die before retirement on average. 1 in 4 residents of Pemiscot is Black. Pemiscot has one public hospital that almost closed in 2013, and it's one of the poorest counties in Missouri. State policies make a big difference. States in the Deep South have lower life expectancies than states north of the Mason-Dixon line. The 5 factors may be the reasons why the residents in some states live longer. Obviously a whole bunch of different programs, access to abortion, access to medical care, Medicaid expansion. States that have expanded Medicaid save more than 200 lives per 100,000 people and decrease the risk of premature death by roughly 50% of older adults who gain coverage. As Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman explained, some of the poorest states in America with the lowest life expectancy are still refusing to expand Medicaid, even through federal government that would bulk the cover of the cost, such as individuals who are in turn. Gun control, stronger gun control measures in states almost improve life expectancy. The South, which is some of the lenient gun control measures, lost 5.7 million years of life expectancy in the period of 2009 to 2018. Drug overdose prevention. States with policies to prevent drug overdose deaths saw life expectancies increase by 11%. Again, all the things they fight. Like every single one. It's one of those things where like the right, they distract you all day with Coco Melon being gay, with M&Ms not being sexy, with all of this fucking nonsense, with wokeism destroying society, or fake stories, or exaggerated stories, or students opposing apartheid. Actually, what they're doing is calling for the elimination of all Jewish people. Yes, that's certainly what all the protesters at Harvard have been calling for, and this deserves a lot of your attention. Dave Rubin, what do you think about this SNL sketch? Wokeism has destroyed all of the elements of society. And then meanwhile, when you do the maths, when you look at the numbers, all of this shit that the right actively says is bad for you, such as, oh yes, you need to preserve the sanctity of life. Women shouldn't have bodily autonomy. We need to restrict that. Also, we should remove healthcare access because of death panels or something. That's bad. Yeah, Medicaid expansion is bad. All of this. Government programs, welfare. That's fudge rounds and suckling at the government teat. And so we need to eliminate that as well. Well, yeah, it's resulting in mass death, in mass suffering, in mass poverty, in income inequality, which again disproportionately is affecting people of color. That's why they're distracting you, and it's why they're fighting it all the time. CoComelon is kind of a weird kids cartoon. I don't watch CoComelon. Again, not the target demographic, but I can tell you from the CoComelon clip that they're all upset about, that clip was not showing anything that is in any way damaging to children. It's like, yeah, we're happy. We're a happy family. By the way, you can choose to dress up however you want. Go nuts. Have fun. We're not going to suddenly say that you're bad because you put on a tiara as a little boy.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions, so it's irrelevant whether the intentions were good or not. Why is it that a bunch of us...
I have a 5-year-old, it's mostly kids songs. Yeah, I mean, that's what strikes me. It's, again, one of those shows that just seems like don't get me wrong, I'm not for, especially the stuff you see on YouTube, just like the endless plethora of like those AI generated channels of song after song after song. It's like, now the counting song, 1 alligator, 2 and now the counting song, 1 gorilla, 2 and now the counting song, 1 tree, 2 tree, and now the counting song, 1 coffee. Like, yeah, it's obviously, you know,
I would include the three of us talking right now,
it's
have been railing
nightmare
against identity politics for years, while on places like CNN and in our administration and the Democrat Party have been pushing this on everybody. So welcome to the party, pal.
Well, and the reason that we have...
What a controversial statement. Stop the genocide in Gaza. It's a good thing you put this on screen so everyone can see this for what it truly is. What? End apartheid? How dare they? How dare they say such things?
Spoken against it is because it undermines merit and excellence, and that's the goal of education. So we live in a society where there is tremendous opportunity for people of all different backgrounds. But one of the things that I read today, Pete, was that the reluctance to fire President Claudine Gay is also partly because she had only been in the job for 6 months, and she's the first black woman president of Harvard, and they feel like that would look bad. But we have to get past that point. If someone isn't doing their job to the benefit of the institution that they're hired to run, what difference should it make what color or gender they are, Pete?
I mean, it clearly matters to you, because it's got to be a raised point. And now moving on to the other prepared question and topic I want to really get your minds on right now. Again, Rubin report expert here. What about the fact that she was black and they won't fire her because she's black? And it's like, wait a minute, you're doing the inverse thing, because aren't you always really upset that people get hired on their merits, and then you're like, this should be the best people for the job, and then when people get hired, it's like, well, they should hire anybody. It shouldn't matter if they're black or white. It's a meritocracy after all, so that's why you should get hired. Okay, so yes, this is a esteemed and revered member of her field, and apparently is quite respected amongst her peers. And you're saying that they won't fire her because she's black, and also is doing a terrible job because she's trying to uphold free speech on campus. I'm confused, right-wingers. You seem to have gone all over the place, almost like you believe in nothing.
Well, it shouldn't, but it's everything in the matrix of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is the entire lens through which that university works. There's
what
also
if we
reports,
met in the matrix of diversity?
That Claudia Gay potentially plagiarized portions of her PhD thesis. We'll see what comes out of that as well. But they're defending her because of what she looks like, not because of the competency per se in the...
Oh, absolutely, Grand Theft Autobot, 100%. Like when you had all those, what were those, the name of that Christian group that would have, like, God hates F slurs, death to the F slurs, like kill the F slurs, although, like, they would just hold up signs that said that shit, like just 100% hate speech of the highest order. And they'd go to funerals, they'd go to college campuses, they'd go to fucking Harvard, and they'd protest, and everyone would be like, well, that's fucking disgusting, those Nazis. rallies, and then there would be counter protests, of course, but like the Westboro Baptist Church, thank you, the Westboro Baptist Church. Just at that point, it's like, well, we here at Fox don't necessarily agree with the message that God wants to kill all the F-slurs. We're not saying that that's exactly what we enjoy or believe, but we are going to say that we should still defend their right to be able to speak at these rallies because, again, they should have light shined upon them, right? Because, again, that's the only way to disinfect this. Yes, that's freedom of speech. Saying that you want an end to apartheid, that's vilificational hate speech deserving of expulsion and then the firing of the president. Yeah.
This instance, and that's unfortunate. You talk about excellence. 80% of Harvard kids get A's. 80%. I'm no expert on bell curves, but they're given away. As long as you play the game right,
it's incredible.
You're fine. And the one last thing. Talk to a Christian or a conservative or...
Well, what did that have to do with any of your point? Like what?
You know, a pro-life speaker. They want to hide behind free speech now, but they've been suppressing views for a long time. And donors...
No, he didn't say AIDS. He said A's. A's. Yeah.
And others that are just recognizing it now. Where you been? Where you been? For 20 years, this has been the status quo.
Harvard is the lowest ranking school when it comes to free speech measures because of the people that they've canceled, disallowed from speaking on campus.
What are you doing? You're doing this is a cancellation. This whole segment, you're doing a cancellation segment. This is 100% cancellation from the right. You want to suppress speech. You don't like the message, stop the genocide in Gaza. You don't like that message. You want to suppress their speech and stop them from speaking. That's a particular speech you don't enjoy. So in this case, you're like, cancel it.
Professors that they have fired. These students are not getting an education because they're not hearing a dynamic back and forth between different ways of thinking and scholarly thought. And that...
You're trying to silence that thought. That this is the thought you don't like. So you're like, no, I don't like this speech. Stop the genocide. It's icky.
Is what we need to get back to if we want to have an educated country. And unfortunately,
I love how like they keep showing the same photos just from different angles to be like, can you believe this is what they said? End apartheid? What?
We have other countries that are outpacing us in an enormous way. So I do think parents are starting to rethink whether or not they want to spend this kind of money to have their kids indoctrinated into one way of thinking. I know a lot of college kids. I have, 3 of them who are either in college or out of college in my house. You talk to a lot of college kids and say, how do you feel about turning in a paper that doesn't line up with exactly what you know the professor wants you to say? And they will tell you to a person that they don't want to do it. They don't want to risk it. It's not worth it. They know what the teacher wants the paper to say, and that is the push to do it. But let's listen to this montage because I think there is. I'm optimistic, and I think there is a sense in this that we're starting to turn a corner. Watch this.
I'm ready for the sense.
I was shocked by the tone deafness of those comments, and I think they got bad legal advice.
So these are 2 of the colleges who are now on Team Hamas.
As an American, I grow increasingly appalled at the anti...
Whoa, what? Dr. Phil, my mind is blown. And he's making pro-Israeli statements. Who could have ever seen this coming? Certainly not his entire career in advocacy. The tide has changed. The tide is turning. Wow, cataclysmic shift. The Overton window is all over the place.
Anti-Semitism permeating so much of our country, especially by so many students at our elite universities, which have become left-leaning.
So you see what's going on here, right? You're all the baddies. Because if someone's like, hey, we should end apartheid, genocide bad, then everyone, you're like, well, that's evil things you're saying. You're saying evil words. Yeah, we have to silence you. We have to stop you from saying those things. You shouldn't have a voice. No one should be allowed to say that. Okay, so then you oppose those concepts. Those are bad to you. Those are evil. That's what you're fighting against. You're like, no, I want to continue a genocide of children. I want to continue an apartheid system where people aren't equal. I want that to continue. I'm fighting for that. I want to fight for that, and I want to stop you from having speech.
Liberal woke hotbeds fostering intellectual rot.
Dave, it's kind of pathetic to me that the former vice president says, oh, they got some bad legal advice on the way they spoke. If the president of the University of Pennsylvania doesn't know how to go in there on her own and address questions from Congress about this issue, we're in a really weird place.
Well, of course. I mean, first off, most of the liberals who are kind of waking up over the last 2 months since the October 7th attacks, it's like, guys, you really just need a...
Will, you're all waking up. Wow, I've never seen pro-Israeli liberals before. This is the first time that's happened. Yeah, it's wild.
Mirror if you're trying to figure out how this all got ushered in. That's number one. But then again, it is nice seeing some people wake up, and the hope is that we can now take...
Yeah, I know. Waking up. Sounds like woke shit.
Them down the road towards truth and maybe eventually voting the right way and realizing that their behavior contributed to some of this. But I would say this, I am not looking forward to or calling for these schools to be fixed. Let these schools go down at this point. My executive producer sitting 4 feet away from me right now is a college dropout. I just hired a new producer this week who is a college dropout. There are an awful lot of ways. Martha, I have no doubt you have interns over there. You could gladly get an intern that
So here's the thing. College shouldn't be elitist. I agree. They also shouldn't be massive fucking like real estate ventures. I agree on all those points. College should be free. Should be free. Everyone should have access to it. If it's expensive to run, if it's expensive to hire the best of the best, you know, people who can train and teach, nurses, doctors, all that kind of stuff that we need for society to be good and healthy, and people should be very, very well compensated for. There shouldn't be a barrier of entry in terms of a financial restraint that stops you from getting into a college, and there should be access to information. And yes, there should be training programs for the variety of things that we need in society to function. Because, you know, people like when they have a problem, they can go into a hospital and then they can get help and medical attention, or they go into a plane and then a competent pilot who has a license is going to safely take them from point A to point B. It's good, but it should be free. People shouldn't have to pay for it. Then it's not an elitist institution. Anyone can have access to it, and you should make the same provisions available at all levels of education for everybody. And honestly, look into areas where it's disproportionately suddenly very, very difficult for people to be able to get into college. Why would that be? What are the barriers for entry? Typically, if it's having to do with you know, poverty, people unable to take standardized testing, sometimes this is disproportionately going to fall upon racial lines. People who are indigenous, you know, will live in more poverty. People who are black might live in more poverty, and there's going to be certainly something that needs to be done to be able to help and make anyone who wants access to have a college experience be able to do so. That's what should happen. Not all this, well, I want Harvard to go down because it's woke, and then the non-woke universities can go. Like, the entire fucking, you know, economics department is going to be pro-capitalism to the extreme. Listen to any economics professor who's gotten out of it, like Richard Wolff, who was like, yeah, I mean, we were not taught Marxist theory. We weren't taught about labor exploitation. We were taught line go up. That's what this is not woke indoctrination, you know, by these liberal institutions they keep talking about. It's usually overlapping with that anti-Semitic conspiracy theory too, about like, you know, Jewish elites who are basically funding this woke indoctrination of everybody and all that kind of stuff. Or these institutions are Marxist, you know, post-neo-Marxist institutions. All that. It goes back to Frankfurt's school, anti-Semitic fucking conspiracy theories that like are still to this day apparently popular. Same thing with Great Replacement conspiracy theory. Once again, you know, having its roots in anti-Semitism as well. These conspiracy theories are so normalized now amongst so much of the right. Like, so many of them, it used to be kind of like that Stormfront style where they're like, oh, we don't say that. No, we don't. We're supposed to say Western civilization. Yeah. Oh, we can say we're being replaced. Okay. Well, white people are being replaced by CRT. Yeah. Which is a half-truth, to say it.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Can you please hit the like and subscribe button and maybe leave a comment? It really does help the videos out. But first, the people who produce everything you see before you and make this entire channel possible: Amazing Fletch, Anna Loves Riley, Ariane McCarthy, Cheryl Alvarez, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hagbard Salim, Multi Mondi, Omni, Peanut Butter Blondie, Political Puppy, Quiet 185, Rachel K, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Ruby K, Cernicus, Spinach Monster, Stellar Vision, Sebastian Demel, Trevbot.exe, Words Greenwood, and Travis McClinton. And also, thank you to every other person who helps fund this show. Their names are on the screen right now. It would not be possible without every single one of them. We cannot thank you enough. And if you want to join the Patreon, please come to patreon.com/theserfs and help us exist.